One thing I do need to take care of on this cart is the kingpin and bushings are pretty worn on this front end. See this on this side? Really bad. It's definitely the kingpins. I already checked them out, took it apart. This side, pretty bad too. You get a lot of movement in those kingpins and the bushings. I wasn't sure if it was going to be wheel bearings, and so I was thinking about replacing the hubs themselves with new ones with new wheel bearings, and I had ordered a set, stuck them aside. I may not, I don't really, once I've had it off before and checked them, and when I turn the tires, I don't get any growling noise or any crap like that, and I don't get any sign that I'm getting movement from those wheel bearings. It's definitely coming from the kingpins. So I ordered the kit. They're not that expensive. This one happened, again, everything comes off Amazon, but it came off Amazon. Only thing I had to do, I had to order some bigger roll punches. I don't have any ones that are big enough for that kingpin roll pins. The roll pin sets I have were from when I had my gun shop doing gunsmithing, or when I still do gunsmithing, for the small pins to do like trigger works, or trigger jobs, or things like that, or if I had to pin any stocks, or remove pins from stocks if people already had their stocks pinned. But they're much smaller, they're for much finer, and they're basically the size here, the small ones. But I had nothing for the big ones, so it doesn't hurt to have extra tools. So I'm going to work on that process, and I'll probably get one side done, and then I'll show you the process on the other side. It isn't too difficult. It's just a matter of getting it cleaned up, finding those roll pins, getting the roll pins out, and making sure you're putting those bushings back in exactly how they're supposed to come, along with the washers. So here you can see the roll pin I was talking about. It's right there. That just needs to be drifted out. There really usually should be some kind of cotter pin or something down below here, which there isn't. I don't know if there is on the other side. No, apparently there's nothing there either. I'll probably end up putting something in when I finish it up. But you can see the cups here kind of there, and there's one above there, and that really is where all that play and movement comes from. I mean, you shouldn't get quite that much, and this one is pretty rough as well. So, and it's an old cart, it's not going to be perfect, but it'd be nice to not have that play in it. You're going to see if you look up close here that it's actually like two roll pins. There's a small one inside a larger one. So when I first started to tap it, I was using the larger, it was like 1/4 inch, and then I switched over to the 7/32 once I got it started, and then tapped it all the way out the rest with the 7/32 punch, and that came right out. So you do your best to do this with an actual roll punch and not damage it. I don't know if it would be a little bit harder to find these, or to try to order yourself some new ones. For me, it's just as easy not to damage them. So you see this little ring here down at the bottom. It's at the very bottom of this. Now, the rubber seal here, you notice that has a ring also. That's because this is going to end up going into that, and then it'll hold it steady from the bottom inside that little ring on the bottom of that, and that's kind of what holds this in place. So it's just a matter of going up from the bottom with your bushings here, your small ones, and I'll show it once it's all assembled on this one side. I had tried to pull out all the pullers I have, and all the front end type things, and the ball joints and tie rod stuff, because it takes a while. you're going to work with that pin up and down, it's probably going to be frozen in there. I wish I had some kind of kingpin push or a puller, like a something that would be able to pressure it back and forth, but I didn't have anything, so it took time. And I ended up starting out with just an old socket, and then was able to tap that down, work it back and forth with the hammer, sprayed a ton of WD in there, and while I was working it back and forth, and once I got it pound down to a certain point, my poor punch is pretty beat, but I just back and forth a bunch, and then finally just was able to knock this pin all the way down and out through the bottom. Doesn't matter if you want to go from the bottom up or top down, but this pin is more than likely going to be seized in there pretty good with rust. So, smart thing would be to do is to try to soak it the best you can overnight. I didn't do that, so I'm just kind of winging it as I go now, and I will just keep adding WD as I go. And if it's really, really bad on the other side, I'll switch over to some PB Blaster or something. But it didn't go too bad, so now I'm just going to reassemble it, get it all back together on this side, and then it's just a matter of duplicating the other side. So what you're going to do is you're going to actually, in my case, the bushings here, this pieces of them were so worn, they just broke apart as I was taking them out. If yours aren't to that point, you're actually going to have to drive them out. So what you're going to have here is you're going to actually take the short one, we're going to tap this one down that way. You're going to take the long one, we're going to tap this one into the hole up this way. And that is because, like I said before, you have this washer, and then up top here you have this cap that goes over the top of that kingpin afterwards. So we need to just tap these bushings in place, and then once we get those in place, then we can start working with getting that kingpin back in. Alright, so here we have your kingpin, and we know that's the bottom. That's for your pin there. This is for your cotter pin on the bottom. And you've got these couple bushings, the couple of rubber grommets here, basically dust cover type things. This is the dust cover for the top. So this one here would come up here, and then you would have this thing coming through the bottom small bushing in the bottom of your assembly, and then this piece here with this little dust cover here thing would go on the very, very bottom after you get this through. And then I think I showed you earlier, there's a little groove over there that round area here sits right in on that assembly, and this we can put in at the very end. We'll slide that at the top. You just have to kind of be careful and make sure, like I already have those in over there, you got to make sure you've got them down good and flush. And I may try a different method when I put them on the other side. That one was kind of a pain. It took me a while to slowly tap those all in, and it's nice that they are they're tight in there, which is great. They're not sloppy, but it takes a little while to get them in there and get them to the point where you can put that whole assembly back in along with that washer. So I ended up having to check the other side a couple times just because I was sort of confusing myself as to how all this went. I know when I first talked about it earlier, it took me a second to figure out, no, what I said was going on the top didn't go on the top, and so I edited that out. And then, so now I'm putting this piece here that has that little lip on it that has to get in that little groove here. I just slid it up top there and flipped it up, I think that's going to be the easiest way. So once I get this in, I can then flip this back down over here, and that will then make this little connection here to keep this the dirt and the crap out of that bushing. What I need to do now, I need to just kind of grease this up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is grab some grease, throw some down in here a little bit in the bushings, just to make it a little bit easier for reassembly and have some kind of lube in there. I'm going to go grab some axle grease, or I think I've got some red axle grease over there. I got a bit of a mess to clean up now. A lot of tools to put away, a lot of stuff I was using and trying to use because this didn't go quite as planned. Where's my light? On the, what did I do with my light, folks? Where did I put it? It should be right here somewhere. Well, let me pause this for a second while I go look for my light. Okay, got the light. So, like I said, it didn't quite go as planned for a couple reasons. Mostly because this kingpin that came with that kit do not fit correctly. They are a skosh too big, too wide. And what, it was brutal. The other kingpin, the other replacement one, is over there cut in half, so I could actually get it out after trying to bang it in, because it was not going through here. It was quite a process. Finally got that one side all squared away. And so what I did end up doing was I used the bushings that came with the kit. I used the rubber seals that came with the kit. And the original kingpins, I went and cleaned them up on the wire wheel, got them all nice, and end up having to use a rasp here on the inside of the bushings for where it would have a bit of jaggedness after you tapped them in. These were not perfect bushings, shall we say. But so I did that with that, and on the other side I had to actually clean out the inside of this steering knuckle because it got beat up a bit from trying to get that other kingpin in. It just would not go. And I'll tell you, after doing that and then over here trying, after I cleaned up everything all nice, trying to get this one in, wasn't happening. However, both sides are nice, solid again, and you cannot move these at all. So that side, on the passenger side, the bushings were pretty toast. I mean, they were, when I popped them out, it was like a half a bushing was left in the top and the bottom. This side, the bushings were in there, but they are worn. You can see how worn out they are. And that was giving me so much play in the front end of this on these wheels. So now it is beautiful. So all I got to do now is put the wheels back on, clean up this absolute mess I made. I ended up not finding my red grease, but I did find my wheel bearing grease over here. So I ended up using the wheel bearing grease on the kingpins when I put them in, and inside the bushings to make it nice. But very happy the way it turned out. Not very happy with the kit, but you know, that happens sometimes. It's right now I'm finding it's very hard to find original parts for the G2s and G9s. No, so you're almost stuck with these aftermarket parts a lot.